So let's talk about preparing and planning. What is preparing and planning all about? Well, first of all, you're on this site, so I'm assuming you're preparing and planning to travel solo. If not, you might want to look at some other sites, but some of the information we have here for preparing and planning, it applies across the board. First of all, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go, and are there unique challenges about where you want to go that you need to time this properly? So that's the first part, selecting where to go and identifying any of the challenges that might really create difficulties for you. Friends and I are going to Antarctica, and we decided we need to do that in the next year, because if we don't do it in the next year, we may not be getting in and out of zodiacs. And why go to Antarctica if you can't get in and out of zodiacs? Alrighty. So also the time. So you're going to select your place and your time. And then what are the unique requirements for planning for these particular places that you've chosen? Well, first of all, passports and visas. We seem to have a lot of people that can't quite remember that you need a passport with at least 6 full months validity to be able to travel on it. And yes, we may be Americans, but we often need visas to enter countries if we're going to be there and we're not just transiting, if we're actually visiting. So those are the kinds of things you need to really think about. Shots, we hate them. Yellow fever is still required in many countries. Get that yellow fever shot. It's good for a lifetime. So that's the one benefit of a yellow fever shot. So once you make sure you have your travel credentials and all of those types of things, make sure you have a credit card that doesn't charge foreign transaction fees. Those aren't good. They cost a lot of money. Lots of cards are out there, and we will tout a few of them. One is Chase Sapphire, one of the best travel cards out there, but everyone has their unique interests of what they want to have with the travel card. But make sure there's no foreign transaction fees. Often if you're using your debit card or something like that, call your bank, call your credit union. You may see some fees tacked on when you're using that ATM over in some desolate part of the world, or maybe even in Europe. So make sure that you've got your finances in order for all of that, which also means make sure you at least have 2 cards. And I know it's hard for seniors, put it in a wallet on your phone, because most folks nowadays, almost everywhere, take Google Wallet or Apple Wallet. You link your credit cards in there and pay for just about everything when you go overseas. When I go overseas, I bring very, very little money. I bring my Google Wallet. And most of the time I have no problems. I have a debit card in case I need a little bit of cash here and there. But that's generally how I operate, even in countries where I know I'm going to be spending some cash on the streets because they don't accept plastic of any sort. Okay, so now you're prepared. What about physical? Well, a group of us are doing the Camino. In fact, I leave in 5 days. If you're going to do something like the Camino, you better make sure that you're in shape. You need to plan ahead. And how can you do that when you want to talk about getting into shape, which all of us should be anyway? Again, ChatGPT-5. It did my entire schedule to keep me in tip-top shape and get me in tip-top shape to be able to do the Camino to St. Francis, which we're going to be doing, as I said, in a few days. We're leaving for that trip. So once you know what you have to have for your legal stuff, and I would actually urge all of you as seniors to make sure all of your legal affairs are in order before you do any serious traveling. Make sure you have travel insurance, or make sure that your particular medical plan covers bringing you home if you need to get home, or paying for your trip. Again, I do an annual policy. A lot of us do annual policies so that we are covered for just about any eventuality, except for deciding not to go because we don't want to. I don't cancel for any reason. I think we need to be able to depend on our decision making quite a bit and just ward off problems like illness or jury duty or some of the things that we can't really avoid. Okay, so now you're all set, and you're alone, and you're traveling alone. And for your first trip, if you're a newbie, I would suggest that you plan to travel with a group, or plan to travel with a cruise line that has dedicated solo resources, such as Norwegian Cruise Line. Your first trip out as a solo is very different from subsequent trips because this is the time where I think most people are most apprehensive of, is this really going to work out for me? Am I going to meet anyone? Am I going to be lonely the whole time? And there are some trips on your first trip that you want to sort of mitigate the chances of that happening. And on certain cruise lines and certain group travels, you're more likely to feel isolated and lonely, particularly if they appeal to older couples, and that is their demographic market. So I think you have to be careful about when you go, you decide where you're going to go, how you're going to get there. And if it's your first outing as a solo, I really cannot recommend highly enough going on a Norwegian Cruise Line. For a first time adventure as a solo, they have a very well organized program, and it will put your mind at ease when you later do solo trips that are perhaps not fully supported by any organized group, or that you're doing totally alone, like I am with a number of friends now on the Camino. So preparing and planning are critical aspects of your solo travel. You can just get on a plane, go somewhere, and hope to find some wonderful little hotels or auberges or hostels to stay at. And indeed, many solo travelers who are seniors do that, but normally not for their first trip. Normally for their first trip, they want something a little bit more organized. And indeed, as we talked about community, most of us now have a community of friends. I travel rarely solo in the sense that I'm not joining other solos and I'm not joining other friends to be able to engage in my travels. So planning, preparing, definitely you don't want to be the person going to the airport and being told, wow, you're not getting on the plane because your documents aren't in order. Or you don't want to be the one that ends up in a foreign country and you have no credit cards that work, or no money, or no, last but not least, eSIM or a manual SIM for your phone. Absolutely critical while you're traveling overseas. Oh, I'm in the airport and I have a problem and I can't talk to anybody. I can't reach anybody and I can't communicate with anyone. Last but not least, Google Translate. Make sure you have it loaded and make sure you have a VPN Express loaded so you can bypass all the problems with accessing Netflix and all those other things while you're traveling. Anyway, this is just an overview. We're going to actually give a full blog about all the different things you need to consider with checklists so that you'll have that available when you decide to embark on your solo journey. Again, welcome to SOARS. It's wonderful having everyone here, and we're so excited about building our community.